from one company. Let's focus to Sagility India. The company did come out with its numbers, and talking about Sagility, the company did come out with an inline set when the consolidated revenue has seen a jump of close to 3%, but the margins have seen a bit of a decline, while in terms of the EBITDA and the profitability as well, we have seen a bit of a contraction. But what's the outlook going ahead? Let's understand all of that with Mr. Ramesh Gopalan, who is the Group CEO and MD of Sagility India, joining us. Hi, very good morning and welcome to ET Now. Firstly, help us understand that what were the factors behind the margin dilution and the contraction that we have seen in your numbers? Was it because of the higher employee cost, investments in AI, or some of the one-off that you would like to elaborate?
Thank you. Good morning, and thank you for having me on your show. Yes, I mean, if you look at the margins Q on Q, first of all, our business has seasonality, right? So Q3 and Q4 are our seasonal quarters. And so the margins do tend to behave differently in these quarters compared to the other quarters. So if you look at Q4 compared to Q3, yes, there was a margin dip. And that's basically due to a couple of one-off items. One, we had a one-time employee, what we call bonus, but it's actually because our increment cycle has moved from a calendar fiscal to a April through March fiscal. So we did have a one-time catch-up because the increments are only going to be effective April 1st onwards. So that was a one-time. And secondly, we had to shut down a couple of delivery centers. And there were some write-offs, one-off write-offs that we had to take as part of those closure, right? So those were the one-off items. But also we are continuing to invest in tech and AI. But that's something that will continue in the future quarters as well.
Okay. And Mr. Gopalan, what is the expected trajectory for EBIT margins in FY27? Any number you can help us with?
Yeah, we generally guide on EBITDA margins. So we've done a 25.3% for fiscal 26, and we are guiding to a 24 to 25% adjusted EBITDA margins for FY27.
All right. So we look forward to that. But let's talk about the attrition rate. That has jumped to 38.1% from 22.8% in Q3. What drove this sharp increase?
Again, you got to understand our business, right? Like I said, we have seasonality in our business. And so the volume surge happens in Q3 and Q4. And once the seasonality ends, we generally have a reduction in headcount. So if you look at historically our Q3 and Q4 numbers, the attrition generally is higher in Q4 because a lot of the temporary staff that we hire for the seasonal work generally they're not there at the end of Q4. So that's why you see that attrition. Better number to look at is between FY26, 25 and 26. There is a slight increase in attrition even in those numbers. That's because our seasonal revenues have increased compared to the last year. So it traditionally used to be 3% of our annual revenues used to be the seasonal revenues. But that's increased to roughly 5.5% to 6% in FY26.
Okay. And Mr. Gopalan, let's talk about artificial intelligence. You have deployed about 37 AI use cases through Smart Tech and Synchrony. Can you help us understand, or can you quantify the benefits that you've seen from AI so far in terms of your cost, productivity, anything on that front?
So two things, right? So one, use of AI for client delivery. So that's where, like I've said, our clients are going through enormous cost pressures. And so they want partners like us to help deliver business outcomes while reducing the total cost of ownership. So that's where we deploy technology, we use AI. And that improves the productivity, that eliminates some of the transactions. And that's essentially a lot of them gets passed back to the clients as benefits. And we also have started using AI in our internal operations, in our hiring, in our training, and so on. And that is likely to reduce our operational expenses in the future. But that's just being implemented as we speak. And so we expect to see the benefits of that flowing in the second half of this year and more in FY28.
All right. But what percentage of your current operations is already AI enabled? And what is the target over the next 12 to 18 months?
So it's a journey, right? So it's very difficult to say that somebody's operation is fully AI enabled. So for most of our clients, we run multiple processes. So we are enabling many of them with AI-based use cases. And like I said, it's a journey. So we've started deploying some of them in FY25. That has increased in FY26. And we expect to keep increasing that in FY27 and 28.
Okay, and lastly, Mr. Gopalan, before we let you go, what's your current deal pipeline and win rate? How are contracts looking right now? And how should we be looking at this number for the new financial year?
We've guided to a low double-digit growth for FY27. That's because we are very confident of how the pipeline looks. The only uncertain thing is the timing of closure of some of those deals in the pipeline. So basis that we could revise our forecast during the year. But currently, our pipeline looks very healthy. Like I said, the deal constructs are changing. We're looking at more transformational deals where we commit to business outcomes while helping clients reduce the total cost of ownership. And some of those deals typically take longer to close. But otherwise, very healthy pipeline. And we continue we closed 17 new logos in FY26. And we expect to close again a double digit in FY27 as well.
All right, good to hear about it. But with this, Mr. Gopalan, we'd like to thank you for taking the time out and speaking with us this morning.
Thank you very much.
All right, but with this, viewers, we are completely timed out. And this